everybody. A very warm welcome to all of you in today's session of Digital Disruptors Fireside Chat series. Please allow me a moment to set the context of today's session on data as a currency for organizations to accelerate digital transformation. So, digital transformation has quickly become one of the most popular buzzwords of the COVID era as leaders struggle to navigate the applications, virtualized experience, and new practices required to fully enable and manage our remote workforce. More importantly, some of the most critical challenges that hinder the digital transformation goals of most organizations are centered around efficiency and accessibility of data across various functions. Organizations are exploring quick ways to keep the business and innovations going by adopting next generation technologies to propel their growth post pandemic. But getting there is not that easy. It can take time and cause business disruption. To investigate this further, we have invited our renowned technology leader, Gaurav Kataria, CDIO, Sai Life Sciences, and Sandeep Bhambure, Managing Director, Veeam Software, India and SAARC, to discuss about how to establish an enterprise data management layer to accelerate digital transformation. A very warm welcome to you, Gaurav and Sandeep.
Thank you, Kalpana. Happy to be here.
So let me quickly jump to my first question to Gaurav. According to you, Gaurav, how has the ongoing pandemic changed the dimensions of digital transformation as compared to the pre-pandemic times?
Yeah, thanks, Kalpana. So I think, Kalpana, if I actually look at it and if I look at the industry and the peers that I talk to, and even in our case at Sai Life Sciences, right, digital, I think, has always been on top of the agenda and has always been a boardroom topic, I think, over the last, I'll say, about 3 to 4 years. But what has happened is that post-pandemic, the whole pace of digital transformation and adoption of digital technologies has actually accelerated to a large extent. In some areas, we're actually seeing acceleration upwards of maybe 2 times or 3 times. So there's lots more focus because I think digital and technology has come right into the center, and everybody started realizing, especially with the work from home, where business still had to go on and employees were sort of, forced to work from home. Organizations still needed to generate revenue. So there were multiple reasons which sort of propelled and brought business, digital to the forefront. And as a result, a lot more focus is being given to digital. And at the same time, security and cybersecurity has become, really, really critical. So keeping all of those things in mind, it's actually accelerated. And I think that's been the big difference.
Yeah. So that brings me to the next question, Gaurav. Like, what are your digital transformation initiatives and how it has brought in cultural and operational changes in the organization?
Sure. So the way we at Sai are looking at digital, has, 3 different outcomes that we're looking at. But even before I go to the outcome, let me just sort of try and set context. This is something that I am a big proponent of, is for any organization, not only at Sai, right? For any organization, for the organization to really bear the benefits of digital technologies, right, can be applied in 3 layers, right? One is to actually solve problems which help drive operational efficiency, which is, creating a bottom line impact. The second piece is, how can people really leverage technology to create new business models, take those to market so that they can create a top line impact and create new revenue generating opportunities. Okay? And third, layer, which is sort of often overlooked or undermined, is the layer of creating a societal impact or a human impact, right? As an example, we've seen technology or image processing or video processing being used, AI being used, right, to really check simple things. When an employee comes into office, is the employee wearing a mask or not, right? Whether social distancing is being applied within the office and, cafeteria. Simple examples, very, very powerful example, just to keep the workforce safe, right? And there are several more examples, right, which are there. But if you actually start looking at these 3 layers, all those 3 layers become really important. For us also at Sai, we're sort of looking at it from, all of these 3 layers perspective. So there are initiatives going on within the organization to drive efficiencies and operational excellence, right? One of the key metric that we track within the organization is OTIF, on time in full, from a pharma perspective. So how can technology adoption really impact and drive a better OTIF for us? The second one that we are looking at is driving better collaboration with our customers, giving them better customer experience, because we are in the services industry as Sai Life Sciences. We are a contract development and manufacturing organization. So customer interface becomes really critical for us. So how can we drive, like I said, better collaboration and greater transparency in everything that we do, right? And similarly, on the same side, how can I drive more collaboration on the employee side as well, so that their efficiencies can improve? And the third thing that we are also doing is we are sort of digitizing our internal processes, so that we have enough data coming out of our systems, be it plant and manufacturing systems, be it our internal systems from a documentation perspective, be it operational transactions from the ERP. How can I really now mine that data to get better insights into my data, so that I can do better decision making at the end of the day, right? So all of these layers are being looked at, and then employee safety, is paramount for the organization. Sustainability is a big goal for us. We've just published a second sustainability report as an organization. So there's lots happening where we are sort of trying to apply digital, but everything is starting off with not technology first, but problem area first, or opportunity area first. So start with the problem and then come back to what technology can really help to solve that problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me bring in Sandeep to understand the technology provider perspective also. So Sandeep, what are the three major changes you have seen in the way enterprises looking at data and democratization of data?
Yeah, so Gaurav, first of all, very well articulated in terms of how data is really becoming the currency and how you're handling the data, and sets the tone for the discussion. We've seen significant change actually, in terms of democratization of data. I would say, there has been a fundamental change in which, in the way people have been working and dealing with data. Just a simple thing, and I can tell you, I'm talking to so many CTOs across the country, my friends in the industry. They tell me that one of the big challenges that they are facing today is, getting the people, back to work from their office. Okay. And then, you want to, and over the last, several months, people have actually moved away, back to their hometowns and working from home or working from anywhere. And organizations have really kind of, driven initiatives like VDI and security and migrating to cloud, driving more, flexibility in the IT infrastructure. And while doing that, they've made sure that the productivity of employees from anywhere, working from anywhere, is not really, it doesn't get hampered. But now we're facing a different challenge altogether. As we try to, get back to normal, it's becoming difficult for organizations to retain, the people, and they get, and we see that happening across the country. The impact that it has on particularly IT is, the ability to, manage all the democratization of data. I mean, data of the people, by the people, and for the people. How do you make it available to all the people around you without really compromising or, risking, the very critical information for businesses, which, and particularly I would say healthcare and financial services. You don't want to really kind of take any chance with the data while it, you're just making it available for everyone. Plus, we've seen with the challenge of the proliferation of data, we're seeing threats like ransomware coming in, and the need to protect even data on the cloud or workloads on the cloud. So I think the way organizations are looking at things is because when you're getting on a roller coaster ride, the first thing that you want to do is tie your belt and make sure that you're safe and protected. And hence, I have observed that across the board, organizations are looking at data protection and backup technology as their last line of defense. That as you get into the roller coaster of getting back to normal, and then we see some other impending threats again coming in from new strains of the virus and possible disruptions to the business, including ransomware. How do you make sure that your business remains resilient, your data is protected, and this has really given a big opportunity to the IT organizations to, do away with the legacy infrastructure that is not really, making them or helping them to be agile in the world today, to ensure that the business runs uninterrupted. So, that's something that we see as top priority, for CIOs and CTOs across the board.
Yeah. Thanks, Sandeep, for answering that. And more like I'm kind of changing my gears, Gaurav. How do you see data as an accelerator for digital transformation initiatives of the enterprises, and how does your data strategy fits into your AI vision and value potential?
I think, while a lot of people love the word AI today, right? And I'm a firm believer on the technology, right? So don't get me wrong. But I think the big challenge that a lot of organizations are facing is that they are actually trying to jump on the AI bandwagon even without looking at whether they have enough data or the right data to embark on that journey, right? And that is leading to more failures than successes, right? So what we've done, and when I talk to payers and when we have conversations around the overall data strategy, we've sort of broken it down into three pieces, right? Broadly speaking, one is the data collection itself, right? So how do I really collect data? Am I collecting the right amount of data? And am I collecting it from the correct systems? Is the data coming into a data lake for me as an organization? And then, that's sort of step one. So the data prep in any AI, algorithm, while it sounds very fancy, the data scientists sit down and, do a lot of hard work to make sense out of the data. But the data prep itself is, according to me, a 60 to 70% of the effort, right? Once you have the data prep right, then you can sort of get to the second stage of trying to see what that data is actually telling you. So what is the story behind the data, right? It still hasn't got to insights, but it's just the storytelling of the data, which is basically putting in, the data in dashboards, just analyze so that you're able to analyze the data. Sometimes you might just realize when you push that data into dashboards, you will see anomalies in data coming up, which during the data prep you weren't able to make out, because data prep will typically be done by a data analyst and a DBA, right? But then when it goes to the data, the second layer of the visualization of the data, some analysis, it will be done by the business function. And that's when they can start seeing some anomalies to say, this doesn't look right. Maybe your data capture needs to be improved. Maybe the data that you've captured, needs to be sliced and diced in a different manner, right? So once you have that confidence on the data and the data is starting to tell you a story, and it just might be, as is what it is, that's when it is good time to start exploring the opportunities of applying machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms, right? And most often than not, I think machine learning today is still far more prevalent in most use cases. There are some great use cases that the industry and the startups are doing around AI and the application of AI where they really, really make sense. But then it's a journey, right? And a lot of people, like I said earlier, try to jump onto the AI bandwagon right in the beginning, leading to failure. But having said all of this, I think what is really, really critical, which is the second thing that we are trying to do, is work very closely with business and then define what do we really need out of the data, right? So what is the problem statement? What is the end goal, right? So start with the end in mind and then work backwards to define what data collection you want, what analysis do you want at stage one, and then what are the places where you can apply AI, for example, predictive maintenance, for example. It's a great example of machine learning. But then if you want to create a self-healing system, right? Great example of AI. Similarly, in the discovery process from a pharma perspective, if we, if we really want to do, and if you see COVID, the vaccine, for example, right? The only reason why the COVID vaccine could come out in 8 months' time for all of us, where typically it takes 8 years for a drug to get created is because by the application of AI, right? So a lot of simulation, a lot of what if analysis, a lot of data coming in, a lot of data crunching happening, and then the algorithms need to self-learn, right, from from the results from the past data and self-correct. That's where the AI comes in, and that's where the fun starts, so to say. But again, stages, step by step. If you don't have the data in the right format, then your AI is bound to fail. So it's a journey, and I think that's what we've understood. So we are taking baby steps, going step by step, and a lot of my colleagues that I talk to in the industry and peers, are sort of wanting to follow the same approach now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you rightly said, that it is a journey, and making data strategy is on one side, but there, when it comes to execution, there are challenges. So, according to
Right.
you, what are the major challenges pharma organizations face around efficiency and accessibility of data, and as Sandeep said, the protection of data across various
Right.
functions? Yeah.
See, pharma is a highly regulated industry, right? And from a regulation perspective, every piece of data is, is like you said, like we all, the new saying, right? Data is gold. So, data is the new gold. It's the same thing in the pharma industry as well, right? Every nugget of information needs to be protected. We are all controlled by the GXP regulation, the CFR 21 Part 11, which talks and very gives a very high emphasis on data integrity, right? From a pharma perspective. Now, when that comes into play, three things happen. One is a lot of this data that we're trying to pull out, be it early research data from a discovery process perspective. It is controlled by confidentiality. It is controlled by IP, right? A lot of the data that we deal with is pre-IP, right? Not only when I say we, I mean the pharma industry, right? It is pre-patent. Then there is data which is available, which is basically used to scale up the experiments and then really get to a production grade API or a formulation or a final drug at the end of the day. So all of these stages, there is a lot of data at play. So this integrity needs to be maintained, the data needs to be protected, and data needs to be available at all times, right? And those become really critical from a pharma industry perspective, because without that, forget applying AI and ML, running day-to-day operations itself becomes a challenge. A lot of
Yeah.
the times, historically, the challenge that you have operationally, in the pharma industry, there is still a lot of paper being used. So that data is not digitized. So while the data is there, it's still pen and paper, right? It's not digitized. So what we are doing at Sai is that we are sort of embarked on two sides, parallel tracks. One is to digitize the data wherever the digitization doesn't exist. Like classic example, we already have an electronic lab notebook solution, which covers about 70% of our business. But now we're moving to a different solution, so sir, we can cover nearly 100% of our business on electronic lab notebooks. What are electronic lab notebooks? Every experiment that the scientist does in a lab needs to get recorded, right? And in a pharma industry, when it becomes a GXP process, right, all of this needs to have a paper trail and needs to be auditable. It's all auditable data, right, at the end of the day. So it needs an audit trail. So that's how we sort of moving into a professional system rather than just scanning documents, right, and storing them. That's not digitization. The digitization is where I can actually use and leverage the power of that data to sort of into the next steps to aid my experiments going forward and cut down the speed of, improve the speed of operations at the end of the day, so that I can do more experiments in the same amount of time and come out with, quicker results in the same amount of time, right? So like I said, two tracks. One is to digitize data, and then second, wherever we already have digitized data available, then we are sort of applying the analytics and then the AI and ML AI sort of part to it. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fair point. But how does your efforts architect an intelligent data and AI platform?
see, AI, according to at least for our organization, I think we are still a little away, at least maybe 6-8 months away from an AI perspective. There are pockets where we are trying and experimenting, but these are early days. But AI definitely has a big role to play, even the discovery side of the business, or even the even in the analytical R&D, or process R&D side of the business. So from the R&D perspective, AI definitely has a big role to play. And then finally on the production side, right, where I have plant and machinery, I have operations to be run there. AI, can be a great enabler, but that I see only happening next year for us, not 2022, maybe towards the end of 2022, early 2023, where we are sort of trying to see if we can create a digital twin of our factory to really see if I can get insights and recommendations from my AI engine to tell me how to manage my plant better and operations better. But then I think we will still early on that journey.
Yeah. Okay, so that let me bring in Sandeep. Sandeep, how are the enterprises geared up to meet the challenges around data efficiency and accessibility according to you?
Yeah, so Gaurav touched upon two very key points, and I'm going to continue on the thread, Gaurav, with your permission. 2 points. One is around leveraging of data. Okay, so well, he clearly said it is not about scanning of document, but how do you really make sure that the data is able to drive more value for the business. Okay, and the second thread is around artificial intelligence and ML. So let me tell you, what we're doing in this space so that data always remains accessible, and we don't stop at accessibility of information, but take a step beyond that. Because that's what customers are expecting from technology companies like Veeam Software. So first is like let me kind of come to leveraging of information or leveraging of data. Look at how availability platforms and backup technologies have been built so far. They have been nothing but dormant bit of information that is lying either in tapes or in drives, where organizations don't have any ability to leverage that information. It has been used traditionally only to recover the data in case of an eventuality. Now, what organizations could really benefit from is if they were able to use the backup repository as something like a repository on which they could run queries. They could drive more value for the business, like doing test and development on that backup data. Build in AI or intelligence in the data platform itself, so that it could help organizations in capacity planning. That okay, maybe your virtual your hardware infrastructure is getting overly utilized, and you may want to bring in more hardware. So why doesn't it proactively alert IT that you'll need to really augment your infrastructure? Look at artificial intelligence that could be brought into the availability platform, where it can throw alerts that even while you are backing up your information, it is able to detect that there is an impending ransomware that is entering your system, and it can throw alerts to the IT that, hey, why don't you look at this data again, and you want to take corrective steps to prevent any further ransomware proliferation into your infrastructure, so that your data doesn't get compromised. So we have been investing heavily into how customers can really take availability to the next level, because we realize that if the foundation block is strong for any IT, it will have more agility, it will have more confidence to get on the digital transformation journey. I'm sure you have a lot of initiatives being driven in AI, as well as going to cloud. Whether it is SaaS, whether it is adopting the hyperscaler or the public cloud infrastructures, moving workloads there. But the fact remains that the responsibility of protecting this data while you're doing all this orchestration of workloads in cloud and on-prem and multi-cloud still remains with the CTO, or the CIO, the IT organization. Because while it could appear to be a shared responsibility, but end of the day, the business can get affected, and that is where organizations are making sure that they look at an availability platform which can give them access to information anywhere it resides, either on the edge in the data center or on cloud. Accessibility of information, availability of information, recovery of information, in case of an eventuality or a ransomware attack. Let's say, what's your last line of defense? Can you guarantee your auditors, and particularly for heavily compliance driven industries like pharma and financial services, can you guarantee the internal auditors as well as the external regulators that you can safely recover your data and on time? I know of healthcare companies that are spending millions of dollars, just on the litigation charges, because they are not able to really recover the information that the regulators wanted, in the right time. So I think all of these requirements of the business have to be very carefully built into the availability platform, so that IT could actually take a step beyond, just the backup and recovery, and go to the, more advanced expectations from the availability platform. I think, our investment is going in that direction. As an organization, we are helping customers, as they get on the, containerization of their workloads and adopting Kubernetes or any other platforms for driving transformation. We see a need there as well, that, they need to protect the workloads there. So we are very clearly, investing not only in helping customers protect the traditional workloads, which has always been there, but that as they move to, virtualization, multi-cloud, containers, Kubernetes, all of that, and driving more value out of the backup data that organizations are creating.
Yeah. So, Sandeep, how does Veeam help organizations build a fail-proof enterprise data management layer to accelerate their digital transformation?
So, like I said, when you're going on the digital transformation journey, the first thing you would want, as an IT, is, I need to have my last line of defense ready, for any eventuality. We've seen like many digital transformation journeys, or even, Gaurav alluded to, AI initiatives failing for whatever reasons, just like that, there are transformation initiatives on cloud migrations also failing. As you enable workforce to work from anywhere, we are seeing more susceptibility to ransomware attacks or malicious attacks. All of these is basically resulting in more threats to the data and the business, which we know, is the currency of our business today. So we are essentially investing in making sure that wherever the data lies, wherever the data originates, however big the data volumes could be, we are able to help customers build a completely software-defined, hardware-agnostic platform, so that they have the agility, to keep pace with the changes that are happening around them, whether it is on cloud, on-prem, wherever, and at the same time have the confidence that all of this data could be secure in case of, any unplanned downtime or accidents that can happen, or even threats for that matter by bad actors in the industry. So so essentially, like, this is what is helping customers get more confidence to accelerate on their DX journey.
Thank you, Sandeep. I would like to now move into Gaurav. According to you, Gaurav, what are the 3 key things any organization should consider before partnering with any technology provider?
From an organization perspective, I think the first thing that they need to do is to really understand what they want to achieve out of their digital transformation journey. Right? A lot of the times I've heard, people talk about that we are embarked on a digital transformation journey, right? But then for every organization, based on their own maturity, based on their own priority, right, the definition of digital transformation is changing. Some organizations are saying I've enabled work from home, and that is digital transformation for me, because we as an industry have never worked from home, and that is a disruption within the industry itself. And that is big enough for them, because now it gives them the flexibility of hiring the right talent, agnostic of where that individual and the talent is sitting. So that itself is a big disruption for them. and hence for them digital transformation, right? So, on the similar lines, there are some people, some organizations who are saying that we were a paper-based organization. Now we are going paperless and we are going to digitize the data. That is digital transformation to me. And that itself is a big step, because till now, everybody on my shop floor, for example, is used to using pen and paper. We are providing tabs for them on the shop floor. And, hence we are going digital, because, data recording is becoming online. The number of errors that we have in the data recording is far and few. There are audit trails available, for me to defend any audits, like Sandeep was mentioning about internal audits or regulatory audits or, any of those. So that itself is digital transformation. There are organizations now who are saying, and some of the large organizations who've done multiple acquisitions, for example, right? And they have, let's say, 8, 10 organizations that they've integrated over the past 4, 5, 8 years. And, they all of them are running different CRM systems or different ERPs, for example, integrating those into a common platform so that the leadership team has the right data for decision making from an organization perspective, and can also drive operational efficiency within the business, because you have one platform and one visibility of data. That could be digital transformation. So it depends on where the organization is. So the first thing that you need to do is, basis where you are, what is your business priority? That is the first thing that the organization need to define before they embark on the digital transformation journey. The second thing that they should do is pick out small use cases where they can actually demonstrate the benefits of digitization or digitalization, which is sort of the new word which is catching up, which is right. So how do we really do the small quick wins, use cases, and prove to the larger organization that there is merit in applying technology, there is benefits that the organization can gain out of it, right? And that has to happen with the technology leadership within the organization being a partner along with the business. So they do sort of define those use cases together, implement. That's where you bring in startups to bring in the agility. That's where you bring in partners to do quick proof of concepts, to really show what can really be done and what can be achieved, right? Don't keep this longer than a 3 months kind of a period, 30, 60, 90-day typical plans that we all make, right? Achieve that and then demonstrate that you're able to, see benefits out of the whole thing. And then the third piece is actually bring in the right, it could be the same partners you want to continue. You want to bring in other partners who already achieved, help you achieve scale, or for different organizations, help achieve scale at a larger global level. So be it, work, create your team in parallel. Once you've defined your goals, you've done the proof of concept, now it's time to really scale. So then you sort of go down to really scaling. And in all of this, keep compliance in mind, that becomes paramount, and keep information security, cyber security in mind, because that becomes paramount, right? And third, which is a subset of information security to a certain extent, is your, and I think Sandeep alluded to it, your backup, your disaster recovery, your business continuity planning at the end of the day. Because, with what we've all gone through today, I think a lot of businesses are re-looking at their business continuity plans. Some unfortunately have gone belly up because they weren't well prepared enough or weren't digital enough. And the ones who have survived and who have actually thrived in this era are now putting in plans so that they can really scale up, right? So 3 things, like I said, define your goals very clearly, do a quick MVPs, fail fast, right? And then put a strategy to scale.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's no more digital transformation now. It's more like, as you rightly said, creating digitalized business models. And
Right.
of course, the goals remain same, to empower people. Yeah. So on that note, we will conclude this conversation. And this is quite interesting discussion. I'm sure audience will hugely benefit from the deep insights and strategic thoughts shared by both of you. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today, Gaurav and Sandeep, and sharing your thoughts on how to establish an enterprise data management layer to accelerate digital transformation. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our viewers for tuning in. This is Kalpana Singhal signing off. Have a good day.
Thank you, Kalpana, and a happy new year to all the listeners. And thanks, Sandeep. Pleasure connecting with you.
Thank you, Kalpana. Thanks, Gaurav. It was wonderful having this conversation with both of you, and wish you all a very happy new year. Thank you.
Yeah, same to you. Same to you, Gaurav. Same to you, Sandeep.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.